Do you have constitutional questions? Get constitutional answers. We'll be answering your constitutional questions live, so get ready to call in now. Are you a prosecutor, law enforcement officer, or local government employee? Want to make sure you are executing the laws in a constitutional manner? Are you a city council member, township board member, or state legislator? Want to ensure the laws you pass are constitutional? Perhaps you're a citizen who wants to know the proper limits on government and the protections for your God-given liberties. Regardless of your role, call me, Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry, with your constitutional questions during our live call-in show now at the phone number listed on the screen. And remember, together we can restore freedom.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time zone you are joining us from today. I am Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry, and welcome to our Restore Freedom Weekly show, which used to be weekly, hence the name. Maybe we'll get back to that point someday. As usual, there's some interesting technical difficulties I'm noticing. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but it appears that only one comment has made it through onto the screen from what's actually in the live chat. Okay, a second comment. There's actually a whole bunch that have happened this morning, so I'm not sure why. But anyway, as long as it continues going forward and as those questions roll in, it's shown on the screen. That's all that matters, so people can follow along and see what the questions are, as well as me. I need to see what the questions are. So today I wanted to start by giving you guys an update on where we're at, because I know the question is going to come from one of you if I don't start with the update. So with that being said, first of all, I want to blame my friend Kristen Megan, who has traveled down to Florida and taken the cold with her. I mean, what the heck? It was in the 70s and 80s before she got here, and now it is in the 30s and 40s. I didn't move to Florida because I liked the cold weather. I could have stayed in Michigan for that. But anyway, so as far as the update goes, all of you who are usual watchers and supporters, subscribers to the channel, etc., are probably well aware of where we're at right now with our case that the city of Ormond Beach has brought against us. If you're looking for the complete rundown of everything, if you're new to the channel, go to, and this is a public service says that this is perfect weather. Well, that's because he's on crack and he's originally from Michigan as well. But more importantly, he's on crack. The fact that he thinks this is great weather. Anyway, so, if you're looking for the full rundown on what case I'm talking about, you can see every single document that has been filed, at least those of importance, things like updated notices of hearing and whatnot. I didn't bother wasting the time uploading those to my website, but you can go to restorefreedomkh.com/OB case for Ormond Beach case. So restorefreedomkh.com/OB case, and I'm sure, because Lori is always on top of it, that she will probably put that in that link in the comments for you as well. But anyway, so I won't waste the time giving you the background. And I think the last time, I'm just trying to remember where I was at as far as things go. I didn't throw on YouTube my update. I'm trying to remember, guys. It's been 2 weeks since the last show. At any rate, somewhere in there, I'll just tell you in case I didn't do this update on YouTube. I know I did one on my personal account on Facebook, but At any rate, I finally received an update that they had my box. And it took multiple phone calls, but I finally got one back. And the United States Supreme Court said they finally did receive my box. Actually, by the time they confirmed that they had received it, they actually had it for a week. So I was kind of bummed that they couldn't tell me a little bit sooner about that. But anyway, and then long story short, because there was a lot of back and forth and different phone calls that day, the United States Supreme Court Clerk's Office determined that I should not have filed in the United States Supreme Court, but instead the Florida State Supreme Court. And because of that, they didn't have jurisdiction and Florida did. And I was pretty confident that I had read the court rules correctly, but I was like, you know what? I can't argue with them, especially since I wasn't speaking with the person that made that decision. And so I was just stressed out because I thought, well, if I could have filed at the Florida State Supreme Court, my time frame is probably gone now because, those deadlines have now passed. I originally timely filed at the U.S. Supreme Court, but it's now too late to file in the state Supreme Court. At any rate, they also said that the Florida State Supreme Court had confirmed that I should have filed in the Florida State Supreme Court. And it took me 2 phone calls to actually get to a human being where the phone line was not all messed up. But in the second phone call to the Florida State Supreme Court, I spoke with somebody, laid out what I thought the court rule was, laid out what the problem was, and that somebody from their office had confirmed to the United States Supreme Court that Florida did in fact have jurisdiction. And I'll just say I'm going to truncate this version a little bit for you guys, for those of you who have heard it. But the Florida State Supreme Court, the person I was speaking with said that I have definitely done my homework and that I had actually procedurally done all the correct steps, and that I was correct in saying that the Florida State Supreme Court did not have jurisdiction because the 5th District Court of Appeal refused to issue any kind of written opinion whatsoever. And I had actually filed a motion for a written opinion so that the Florida State Supreme Court could have jurisdiction, but they denied my written motion, or my motion for written opinion. So anyway, I was super excited to hear that I'd gotten things correct and that I didn't miss my opportunities, didn't miss deadlines, didn't, mess up on jurisdiction. And so I wanted that person to speak with the United States Supreme Court Clerk's Office to see if they could connect directly, because clearly the United States Supreme Court did not believe me. And so I asked who I was speaking with, and he confirmed that his name was John, and he, in fact, is the chief clerk of the Florida State Supreme Court. So I was very excited and shocked because, he answered the phone and he said, because he could tell in my voice when I said, really? He said, yes, I don't normally answer the phones. It just so happened that's how it worked out today in this particular instance. And I was like, well, that was a God thing. That's amazing. So he eventually, through multiple phone calls, I was able to get a direct phone line to the person that I had been speaking with at the United States Supreme Court's office. And I got his direct phone line. So I was able to connect them. And it took 3 hours, but I eventually got a call back from the United States Supreme Court Clerk's Office, who confirmed that Florida did not have jurisdiction. But they still weren't sure that the United States Supreme Court had jurisdiction, and they needed to look at that. And so I wasn't quite sure what else they needed from me. But I guess to make sure that it was a federal issue I was raising, or I'm not sure. But at any rate, that was a Thursday. Nothing happened that Friday. And then Monday, October 27th, I received notification that they wanted me to make a few changes to the documents, which meant they were accepting that they had jurisdiction. That doesn't mean they're taking the case, that the justices are deciding to take the case, but it means that the clerk's office is acknowledging I filed in the right place. And so they wouldn't docket anything until I fixed, made the corrections that they wanted me to make. And so if you're wondering what those corrections are and how horrible and awful I did my pleadings, let me just tell you that there were 3 things. One was that they said I can't have any color in the text of the petition. And what was color was from the original transcript. There was a back and forth dialogue between myself and this assistant city attorney, Ann Margaret Emery. And to make it easy on the eyes, I made the dialogue, my words one color and her words another color. So it was easy to follow along that way. And that was a simple fix. I just made hers italics and bold and mine was in regular, and the whole thing was indented. When you have more than, I think it's 100 words, you have to indent anyway. So anyway, so that was like a 3-second fix. And that was literally on 2 sheets of paper. And then the other thing, there were 2 other things. One was about the caption. So those of you who don't know what a caption is, you need to know, because you need to be able to dissect the parts of any kind of legal document, no matter what jurisdiction that you're in. And so the top portion, usually it's like the top half, but, and do I have one? Hold on. I have a copy here so I can show you. Okay. So this was the original version that I sent, and this is the petition. And so the caption is essentially this right here, where it lists the title of the document, what court it's in, the parties, and different courts have you lay it out a little bit differently. So for example, most of my pleadings when I was a public defender in the state of Michigan, or even in the state of Minnesota, the caption is very short. It's like this, only this big, and then the document, really starts at the bottom. But that's not how I laid it out. Pursuant to the documents, the example documents that the Supreme Court puts out on their own website by their own clerk's office, I just followed everything to the T there. And part of that was, there's a part in there where it says basically what court you're coming from. So it's on petition for a writ of certiorari, and what I originally wrote was to the Circuit Court of the 7th Judicial Circuit, Volusia County, Florida. Because in the directions for in pro per parties, which is someone representing themselves, me, it says in there that you need to put in there the court that last addressed the merits of your case. And the 5th District Court of Appeal did not address the merits of our case at all. They dismissed without reason, without a written opinion. Remember, they didn't touch the merits of the case. So I followed the directions and put, which I felt was really weird, that why would I put it, referencing the circuit court. But anyway, and I think what they're thinking is the circuit court is a trial court. But in this case, the circuit court is the appeals court. That's the direct appeal court, because the trial court was actually the magistrate tribunal. But whatever, she wanted me to redo that. And I'm like, you know what? I just put it in my cover letter so that, they could see exactly why I did what I did, because I didn't want somebody else to get it and then go, oh, well, this is wrong because it should have been the court of, whatever. So then the only other thing they wanted me to change was that I signed the documents, Michael and Catherine Henry, that we were pro per, representing ourselves. But I did put an asterisk that asterisk. Yeah, I can't say words sometimes, I guess. Yay me. So anyway, I put an asterisk that I'm actually admitted to practice law in the United States Supreme Court. So I didn't know what, well, actually, the reason why I put that in there was because I was also e-filing, and you can't, when you represent yourself, you cannot e-file in the United States Supreme Court. But when you're a licensed attorney in the United States Supreme Court, it's mandatory that you e-file. And since I was in that catch-22, I was explaining why I e-filed. So anyway, with that being said, she said that I needed to change it because she asked me if I'm representing my husband. And I said, well, I guess so, because he's not going to do any arguing. He's not writing the briefs, whatever, the motions. I'm writing everything, and I'll be the only one speaking. So I guess, yeah. And she said I needed to take off the fact that we are pro per or pro se or whatever. And different jurisdictions call it different things. In Michigan, it's in pro per, but there it's pro se. So anyway, I changed that. But quite frankly, that's technically wrong, because by definition, you are in pro per or pro se when you are representing yourself. Who's representing me? Myself. So I am pro per. Whatever. It is what it is. So I made those few changes. It did not take me very long at all. The hardest part, or the longest part, I should say, is like I had to take them out of PDFA format and put them back into PDFA format because you can't change anything when it's in PDFA, and do all the things and then e-file. So as of Monday last week, I re-uploaded, e-filed all the documents, and then went to FedEx because I got her permission to send it by FedEx. And I didn't even tell you guys what happened to the box. So the United States Supreme Court clerk would not keep all of the documents and just allow me to mail in the few pages, right? The caption and the signature sheets and that 2 pages from the middle of the petition. She wouldn't let me just mail in, which would have fit in a normal sized envelope, the changes to her. She was mailing me back the entire box, which is 26.7 pounds, technically 26 pounds, 7 ounces, but whatever, 26.7 pounds. She sent that back to me. And it was supposed to arrive on, I think it's Saturday, November 1st. Very long story short, they claim that they have delivered the box to me. But what has come, I got to show you this. I got to show you guys this. Hold on. Okay, this is insane to me. So the first thing I got was this package, right? You see how thin this thing is? This doesn't hold very much. My original box had 66 documents. What made it back to me was 3 documents. Now, it's a God thing because I confirmed with the woman at the United States Supreme Court clerk's office that when I make these changes, because it is so expensive and it's taking forever for the packages to mail it there, I asked if I could send it FedEx and if I could send 1 copy, since she wouldn't keep the appendices, which we're not changing, because that's hundreds of pages each. And I had sent in 11 copies, right? Because the court rule required that. So anyway, 3 things made it back, 3 documents. And what were they? 1 copy of the petition, 1 copy of the appendix, and 1 copy of one of my motions. And it was the 1-page motion, which I was changing the signature block anyway, so I had to reprint that. No big deal. But the petition and the appendix were the longest documents, and only 1 copy of each made it back. I literally was able to, and they were practically unscathed. So I was able to reprint just those pages and put them back together. And then so I sent that back out in a box through FedEx, which made it there Wednesday morning last week, an hour earlier than it was supposed to. But they didn't confirm that they had it, and I know it had to go to the warehouse and all that fun stuff. But I'll just tell you, the good part is by Friday, I got an email that it was docketed. What's strange is it's unlike any other court filing system that does e-filing that I've been a part of. I didn't get confirmation of which of my documents were docketed, and I am still unclear about that. I have a call that I have left a message for them to clarify for me which, because I have 2 motions, an affidavit, the petition, the cover letter, and the appendix. And I don't see the cover letter, and I don't see one of my motions. In fact, my motion 4 was redacting my personal cell phone number, and not only does my motion for redaction not appear, but my phone number is on there. So anyway, so I'm going to continue with the court side of the update in a minute, but then that was Friday. What else came on Friday was a notification that my box was delivered to my P.O. box. So I had Mike stop and pick it up on the way home, and I thought, how in the world could my box, my 26.7 pound box, have been delivered when 3 documents from within that box were sent to me separately in another envelope because they couldn't find the envelope. They didn't know that they were looking for a whole box. Well, that's because the box does not exist anymore. What happened is they used the same tracking number, claim it's delivered, and then delivered this. I haven't even opened them all yet. But this, I tell you, is not the remaining 63 documents. Not at all. So, I just realized I'm going to have to turn my phone around, guys, because if the United States Supreme Court calls me back while we're on the show, I'm just going to have to take the call because I don't want to miss that. So, Let me see, hold on. I just happen to see some all caps and I want to read what it says because that's usually my thing. Respect, Catherine. The small taste of this I've gotten representing myself has been overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It's even overwhelming to me. It's extremely overwhelming to me. And I'm an attorney. Now, I am admitted at the United States Supreme Court, never taken a case on all by myself there. I was working with the Great Lakes Justice Center before. I think I started in 2016 with them. And at any rate, it was, I didn't have to do this side of it. I didn't do the filing. I did the guts of the briefs, right? I worked on, whatever, the actual meat and potatoes of the brief, not all this logistical stuff. But anyway, so I just found it funny because, anyway, it's a blessing that they said that I could just file the one copy and send it FedEx because clearly USPS with my case is like, they're out to get me. And, and I still don't have all the documents back, right? And it's this whole hodgepodge and I've had to print them twice now and send them. It's just this mess. So with that being said, so it is docketed. Now, one of the things is, I'm starting to get a little nervous because I have to send what's called a notice of filing with some specific things over to the city of Ormond Beach. And it's my responsibility to do that, which I think is really stupid and weird, but whatever. And it says, though, under Court Rule 12.3, that I have to get that form. Well, it says the form is supplied from the clerk. Now, what does that mean? In some situations, that means when a court rule or a statute says that, it means that the court clerk's office has it available on their website. You could print it. It's available, like with Michigan, court forms are on the they're on the state court administrative webpage. So it's all SCAO forms are there. You could print them off. You could fill them out, whatever. The United States Supreme Court doesn't have that. The only forms that I saw were actually as part of the guidance for indigent in people, that packet, and it didn't have that form. So I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Because I can't have my case kicked out for some sort of procedural thing. And I mean, the city obviously knows I've been filing it, but I don't know how they would otherwise know the deadline unless they're just looking it up themselves and they could see it just as you guys can see it, that they have till December 8th to file a response. But at any rate, so it's kind of making me nervous. And I placed a call and I asked them, I have no email. The only emails I've received from the United States Supreme Court clerk's office, you cannot reply to. So I don't have an email. I only have a voice message that I'm able to leave. And I hope I get an answer. Otherwise, I don't know. I guess I'm going to make up a form. I'm going to just do it and hope that that's acceptable to them. But anyway, so so that's the state of things. So if you're wondering where things are, let me just recap that filing is a huge step. Docketing is a huge step. However, now that it is docketed, procedurally, what's supposed to be, according to the court rule, is now the case is supposed to go over to, first of all, to go to the justice that oversees this area. And I don't even know which one that is. But the justice that oversees this area to grant my motion for informa pauperis, because it's not just the filing fee alone. That's actually not a huge filing fee. The main reason why I filed that is because of the court rules requiring me to file all kinds of, the booklet and doing it in booklet format, which I've talked to you guys about. You have to do 40 copies of the booklet format and the whole thing. And the initial documents that I filed were on regular sized paper and regular kind of copy paper because that's what's allowed in the court rule. But if I didn't file this motion for informa pauperis, I would have had to file all those other booklet things, and it would have been expensive and thousands of dollars right off the bat just for them to possibly say they're not going to take the case. So at any rate, so it's supposed to go to a justice for that motion. Then it goes to, once the city has either filed a response or their time for filing a response has expired, if they filed a response, I get roughly 15 days to file a reply. If they don't file a response, then there's nothing really for me to file. So then at that point, and they can file a waiver of a response where they're just telling the court, we're not going to file a response. And then the court can decide if they want to order the city of Ormond Beach to file a response. And so with that being said, it's usually about 15 days from whichever of those circumstances it is that it goes to the justices to decide, are they going to take on the case? And that's obviously like the biggest hurdle of all in this whole scenario is, have I done a good enough job to convince them that it's an issue of national importance and that they have to take the case? So I definitely need your prayers for all that. I think that's the full update. I guess we'll go from there. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to throw it this way and see if you guys have had some great chat back and forth. All right. And hello to everyone who has joined us. Let's see. Oh, Mike. Okay. I didn't see that I'm here from Mike. Hi, babe. I just saw somebody say, what's up, Mike? And I'm like, he's not here. What are you talking about? Okay, so there is a question that came in, and I want to see what I could do to address it. So the question is, what can, or not. Hello, this is Catherine. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, you're speaking with Rob.
Ed?
Rob.
Rob?
Yes.
Okay. And you're calling from Michigan?
Yes. Your old neck of the woods.
Yep. Okay. So just out of curiosity, what part of the 616 area code are you calling from?
West Michigan, Grand Rapids, Allendale, that neighborhood.
Okay. All right. So Lake Michigan Avenue. Okay.
Yep. That's like literally a few hundred yards from me right now.
Okay. Awesome. So what are you calling about today?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about freedom, and I noticed you got your Restore Freedom there and all that. Just wanted to ask you about like your stance on freedom of speech.
I hate speech. No, I'm just kidding. My stance on freedom of speech is a pretty broad stance, but I feel like there's something specific buried under that general question. So do you want to kind of direct the question a little bit more and I can give you a more fuller answer?
Well, would it be fair to say you're pro freedom of speech? I mean,
yes, I am.
Okay, then my next question would be, why have you blocked me from commenting on your channel?
I have you blocked? What is your username?
Well, I have a few, but the one I believe that is blocked is Epic Proportions Media Productions.
Epic. Sorry, I'm a slow writer. Media Productions. Okay. And the answer is I have absolutely no idea. I think I have 3, maybe 4 people that help me with moderating. So I would have to check to see who blocked you and what the reason was. And I could definitely address it once I know. But I
would think someone that claims to be pro freedom, and especially pro freedom of speech, would block nobody. Is your freedom of
well, hold on. I can
freedom of speech.
I can address that.
Hold on.
No, you're on my channel, and I'm going to answer you. Okay, so I would no
I'm not even free to speak now.
No, you asked me a question, so I'm going to answer the part that I can, and it's that I damn well will block if people are being nasty and obnoxious to me, or insulting, or giving me a hard time. Sure, because I do this work for free. I help people for free. And just like people actually, quite frankly, that pay, for attorney services, I don't have to take on any client. I can choose which clients I want. And if somebody is going to be nasty or name call me or whatever, I don't have to have that person on. So I don't know, though, specifically what the issue is to know that if was it on accident? I don't know. Was it I don't know. I literally don't know the reason why you in particular are blocked, but I do know that there have been people that have been
Calm down. I'm not
nasty.
here to attack you. I'm not here to attack you. I'm just trying to understand. So just take a deep breath. I'm not.
Dude,
So
I'm
is
just
it fair?
addressing your answer. I'm giving you an answer. That is the answer I have. So I wrote your name down because I will look into it. If you really want me to, I can look into it. I don't know why you would be blocked. I could certainly check though. I just,
So it's fair to say though then that your freedom of speech extends as far as long as it's not critical of you.
no,
That's not freedom of speech.
no, that's not what I said. That's bullshit, what you just said. So people, can be critical of me, but there's a difference between just being an asshole and actually trying to have constructive dialogue. So if somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. They can stay on there all day long. I've had people call in throughout the last, however
But they
many
can't be
years now I've been
critical.
doing that. That's not what I said. You can disagree with me and critique, have your own way of viewing whatever legal topic I'm talking about or a stance that I take. I don't care. In fact, I actually prefer to have dialogue where if I know that we're going to have respectful dialogue back and forth. I mean, shoot, I've been on Fox 2 Detroit where I'm, arguing against Jeffrey Feiger and some of those other attorneys in front of millions of people because the dialogue, especially in that context, is going to be respectful, even though I know I'm going against somebody that has totally different beliefs. It doesn't matter about whether we believe the same thing, but there has to be a respect in the process. I'm not here to be abused. So if you have a respectful critique, absolutely bring it. But if somebody's just being an asshole, I don't need to deal with that.
I don't believe I've been disrespectful.
And I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know. I honestly am telling you, I have no idea. I actually have no idea who blocked you. I would have to I have to honestly look up which of the people that work with my channel has even got the permissions, and then I can talk to them. So if you really want to know the answer as to why, I can talk to them about it. And I'll be honest, there's been times that people that help me do something that I don't 100% agree with, and it kind of goes under the radar or something happens, and then somebody like you brings it to my attention. Not a censoring issue, but let me just tell you, there's a different example. My friend Rachel used to do videos for me. You might know her because she's in West Michigan. But she used to do videos for me, just short little clips about whatever. And so she was like trying to advertise maybe the pop sockets that we have here, right? That we just sell at cost. Let's say it was one of those. Well, in order to make it an entertaining short video that would make people want to buy the pop sockets, she said something about setting off liberals. And the way that it was done, I was like, I didn't know it. I didn't see it. She made it. She sent it to somebody else. Somebody else posted it on our social media and it went all over. And then I had a friend of mine I went to law school with many years ago, and he is a Democrat. And he replied to me and he sent me a private message and he said, the way that this came across, it's one thing if we disagree, but this is just downright insulting. And why would you post something like this? And I said, hold on, I haven't actually seen that one because it's one of the short videos. Let me go look at it. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I wouldn't have posted that. If she wants to post that on her own social media, that's one thing. But I would not have posted that because I felt like it was disrespectful. So I told him that. We removed it. And we had a respectful dialogue. He was critiquing or criticizing what he saw that I did. And rightfully so, because it turned out to not be something I would have posted. I wasn't mad at the people that were helping me put content out there, but I just explained to them why that was something that I wouldn't have done, why it's something that I don't want to post in the future. So same thing could possibly be the scenario with you. I don't know. I don't know what comments got you blocked. I know it's not the first comment. It's not like if you say one comment, you get blocked. But I know that.
You know that? Because that would be the case here.
Well, that has been my experience, that they have told me that they don't block anybody the first time. So like I said, I can check to see who did it and ask about it. Because I'd be
willing to bet they probably don't even remember.
Do,
But
do
in
you,
any case, I think it's a bad look to be claim to be pro freedom and block anybody. Period. For anything they say, you're either freedom of speech or you're not.
well, no,
Criticism,
that's not, because
even
that's not what free speech is about. You have no idea what the Constitution is about then, because it's not, you can just say whatever you feel like. You can threaten, harass,
well, no,
do
I'm
whatever,
nobody.
and not be
I
responsible for your
understand that you can't
comments.
scream fire in a crowded theater. I understand. Don't tell me what I know about the Constitution.
Really?
I
But you're on
understand the
here telling
Yeah.
me that I don't know anything about freedom. So you can tell me what I know about, but I can't tell you what you know about. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Listen, if you don't like what I do here, you are more than welcome to not call in. You are more than welcome
And
to
I'm
not
also
join
more
in.
than welcome to be critical of it.
No, if you don't like what I
Yes,
do, you
I
can
can
just
be as
go
critical as I
elsewhere
want. That's
on your
what
own
freedom of
channel.
speech is really. That's the real reason. It's the First Amendment
Okay,
of
if I'm
freedom of
here
speech.
to help people find answers to constitutional issues that they're having or legal things and give them a direction and help them figure out issues that they are struggling with on their
The
own,
real reason
with
for freedom of
attorneys or
speech
not.
is so that you can be critical without being persecuted for it. Would you agree with that? That's the real purpose of
And
the First Amendment.
you're hassling me and raising your voice at me and telling me I don't
No,
know
I'm
a
not.
damn
I
thing
haven't
about
raised my
freedom.
voice at all. You're the one that's.
Okay, so here we go, guys. I don't deal with the bullshit. If you have a question, you can call in and I will gladly take your question. If I know the answer, I will answer you. If you are critical of me but respectful, we will continue the dialogue, okay? All day long. I don't care if we agree or disagree. My husband and I disagree on things. My mother and I disagree on a lot of things. All I ask is a respectful dialogue. If you're incapable of being respectful and you're going to tell me that I don't know a damn thing about freedom because I don't want to take your abuse, then I'm not dealing with the shit. Hello, this is Catherine. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello? Okay, not sure what's going on there. All right, so I would have loved to address whatever let's try this again. Hello, who am I speaking with?
Hi, Catherine. It's JC.
Oh, thank you. I love you.
I never saw that guy's name in the room all these times. So I don't know where that guy's coming from.
And it's possible, it's possible that he got blocked in a way that I would not have agreed with. I was trying to tell him that's possible because it's not like Lori and the crew are all 100% all on my wavelength all at the same time. You know, sometimes we do things a little differently and we could have had a discussion about it, but apparently that's not good enough. So if he doesn't think I'm all about freedom, then he just should go to a different channel. I mean, he could talk to a different attorney. That's all I have to say about it. Anyway, so are there any updates on your situation, or were you just calling so that I wouldn't scream at the show the rest of the time?
Well, I did that for the first one, but yeah, I have spoken to you about this before, and I'd like some clarity on this. When you go to a council meeting and they have 16 items on the agenda, and they only give you 3 minutes to talk. And when I was at the last council meeting, I asked a question, and the attorney answered the question, and then after 3 minutes, she cut me off. Now, I don't believe that an attorney has the right to cut anybody off, and especially when you can't speak about the other 15 items on the agenda. So and then what they do is they call the cops on me.
Well, we know what a troublemaker and how threatening and menacing you are. So, you know, I understand why they would call the cops on you. But actually, what you bring up is an issue that I've recently spoken with an individual from my community, James Powers. He's been attending our city council meetings in Ormond Beach recently. He had me go to, he's invited me to go with him to several, but I only made it to one so far that I spoke at. And actually, I was actually on the same side as the city, the official city's position. So It's not like I was there to cause trouble, but I was there to speak on behalf of, quite frankly, my tax dollars and fairness in proceedings and things like that. But anyway, so the issue that he and I talk about is very similar to what you're talking about, and it's his concern was, being capped at 3 minutes in general, or the way City of Ormond Beach is doing it is, if there's, of course they have the items not on the agenda that people could speak to items not on the agenda. I believe that's at the beginning. Wait, is that the end? I don't even remember now. It might be at the end of the meeting. And then you can speak on items on the agenda at a separate time, and that might be at the beginning. But then they typically only allow 30 minutes of public comment time. So if each person is getting 3 minutes, that's only 10 people. So, are they really going to say the 11th person can't speak, or the 12th person, or whatever? So it's a similar situation. You're talking about being able to speak on multiple issues if they have 16 frickin' agenda items. First of all, I can guarantee you that if they have 16 agenda items, those city council members have not read every single document that goes to each of those 16 agenda items. I could say that as someone who has served. When I served on Georgetown Township Board, it was a community of a little over 50,000 people. So like roughly the size of the city of Ormond Beach where I live right now. And guess what? When I joined the board, our meetings went from whatever they were, 30, 45 minutes to sometimes 4.5 hours because of me, because I would actually talk about the agenda items. I would take stuff off the consent agenda. I would explore things. I would ask questions, and I would do so in the meeting so that the public would get the same answers that I was getting. I figure if I have a question about something, all my constituents are going to have a question as well, or potentially could have the same question. Might not even know they have the same question until they hear me ask it. And then they're like, oh, that's a good point. Yes. What is the answer to that? So, but I read every single page of the packets that were sent to us. So if Planning Commission had a meeting and there was testimony and there were documents submitted and there was all kinds of stuff, and then they made a recommendation, and then that recommendation was one of the agenda items on our township board meeting agenda, I made sure to read all those documents, even though that was just one agenda item for us. I read all the documents. I read, if there were transcripts or minutes of the testimonies that were provided or whatever. I read through everything. And I guarantee you, the other members of the board, at least I think one of them, Michael Bosch, probably read all the documents as well when he served on there with me. But everybody else on there did not read all those documents. No way. They looked at the recommendation, might have glanced through a few pages of the underlying supporting documents, and that was about it. So anyway, it frustrates me that they would have 16 agenda items if they're not even going to read all the documents that go with that. How can you possibly be informed enough to vote on behalf of other people, nonetheless, not just an individual direct vote like, the democratic process, but you're a representative republic. You are representing people by your vote, and you're not even going to inform yourself on all of those items. You shouldn't be voting on anything that you're not 100% informed on. But beside that, if there are that many items that are important enough to be addressed, then they're important enough for them to hear from people and let there be speech. And it's not, they can't put it on people to necessarily email ahead of time or call ahead of time or chase down these members in some way, shape, or form. Because quite frankly, we know that, first of all, board members or city council members, commission members, whatever they're called in your jurisdiction, are not necessarily going to pick up the phone if you call. And if you call, then you're having to call each and every one of them separately, which is a pain in the ass and it takes a lot of time. But also, it's not going to be the same, even if you email, you're typically not going to get a response. And if you get a response, you're not going to get a response from every single one of them. And you don't know if they've even read your email. And it's not part of the record. And that's an important thing that if you, especially as an attorney, I would say if you have an important issue that is on your agenda that you want to speak on, that you want, evidence or testimony or whatever to basically make it into the record so that if they do something wrong, there's some sort of footprint left behind about some sort of way to try to fix it, a Hansel and Gretel trail, if you want to look at it that way, then being at the meeting, and even if you, one way, okay, here is something that I have done before. that I would suggest to you, as well as others like you, if there's more than you can fit into the time allotted that you need to make clear, what I would do is this. What I would say is the very highlights, the most important highlights of those agenda items. And I would have everything else like addressed in bullet point format or numbered format or whatever. So it clearly matches what agenda items are. And I would say, listen, there are very important things that you need to consider on each of these, or maybe on 10 of the items on your agenda. And, and just highlight what some of them are. And then say, so I would ask that you take a 5-minute recess and review the facts before you go and vote on this, because I'm not given enough time here at the podium to adequately address any more than 1 or 2 of the items on the agenda here. And there's several that are important that you're going to be voting on. So you're making a record, and whether they follow through on that or not, if it were me and somebody said that, then I would say, well, they have asked us to do this. They laid it out. I just need a minute, to be able to read this. And I think it's appropriate to do that. And it's not like, I would just make it as clear and concise as possible. And, bullet point, stuff that's like very easy to visually look at. And it's not just ramblings and, making an entire story of each and every point, obviously. Or if you think one of them is so important that you have to really speak on it in full detail, do that, and then let them know you have submitted and handed out to all of them a little blurb about the rest of the agenda items that are also important, and you have information for them that they need to consider before making their vote. So that's a way around it. I do understand the concern. What I would say, and I've seen jurisdictions do this, I can't remember which ones, but when I was running for state rep, I went to the Planning Commission meetings, the DDA meetings, Downtown Development Authority meetings, the City Council or Township Board meetings, the County Commission meetings, in every single community that was part of the my district when I was running for state rep. And that was a lot of them. And so at this point, 10 years later, I cannot remember which community was which, but I know that there were some that what they would do is they would say, if you have, let's say there were 3 items on the agenda, then, they would open it up. They would have opening comments or whatever. And then they would have public comment for that item on the agenda. So then public could come up and speak to just that item. And then they would have commissioner or council member or board member comments on that, and, and potentially discussion or however they have that part of the forum set up. And then they would have their vote on that particular item. So there are communities that allow for you to speak. Let's say it's 1 minute. Let's say it's 3 minutes. Whatever it is, you get your 1 minute. And you get to speak on that particular issue. And then let's say that, item number 2 on the agenda is also something that you have information they need to consider. Then when they get to that point and they have public comment time, you can get up again for that, because your comment time for that first agenda item has nothing to do with your comment time for the second one. Does that make sense?
Yes, I've seen that in other meetings.
Yes.
In the United States.
Yes.
The point here is that in 2020, they changed the resolution to 3 minutes because the president said that people were repeating themselves. Well, I don't go in and repeat myself. And when they cut me off at the 3 minutes, I wasn't even given a chance to bring up the resolution and the mistake in it, that we're not repeating ourselves. Yeah. And that the fact that the solicitor, especially in Pennsylvania, has no rights to cut you off, and PA statute has, for the Open Meetings Act, reasonable opportunity. And if you brought something up and they couldn't talk to you about it, they have to assign somebody to speak with you to resolve the issues that you have. and they're not doing this. They're oath breakers and they're law breakers. And it gets to the point where I'm just like, do I file a suit? What do I do?
Yeah, the answer on how to fix it is unclear. But in the meantime, I would suggest some of the tactics that I was just talking about, where you're putting
Okay.
something on the record during the meetings, and making it clear that it's information that you have information that they should be considering before taking a vote. And even if they want to table it to the next meeting, or if they want to have a special meeting, if it's the kind of organization that only meets once a month, then maybe they want to have a special meeting in 2 weeks or in a week or something, depending on how big or how important the issue is. So there are logistical avenues around that. My preference is that they give you, I like if they have at the beginning of the meeting, or at the end. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter to me. I could see reasons for doing it at either spot, but either at the beginning or the end, that section of time for people to speak on items not on the agenda. And I also think that for items on the agenda, it shouldn't be lumped all together. It should be where it's on each, at each, kind of like if you go to a legislative committee hearing, you don't just speak on any bill that might be considered that day at the committee. You go up to speak once the bill has been introduced. And then, there's time for public comment on that particular bill. So anyway, I think that's the appropriate way to handle that. And I wish all jurisdictions would do that. The issue that James Powers and I have been kind of debating or talking about is he doesn't like having a time limit at all, and thinks it's a violation of, his First Amendment rights to free speech. The thing is, I get how there needs to be some sort of reining in, if you will, because you have people that might go up there and just essentially try to filibuster from the audience, if that makes sense. If they're just going up there talking about the most random things, telling about their vacation or what their dog had for lunch or whatever. You have people that do that on purpose for nefarious reasons, but you also have people that might just be lonely, that go and do that. And so they, people maybe not quite right in the head that, just view that as whatever. There's reasons why you would have people that are going to use that time for other than purposes of getting things addressed that that particular organization, that board, that council, that commission is there to address. So anyway, so I think there needs to be some sort of balance because, at the end, we're people. So if each person is given, 20 minutes and then you have, 20 people that each want to speak for the 20 minutes, then that's 400 minutes. I mean, that's over 6 hours. I can't do the math. 6 hours and 40 minutes just in hearing testimony or public comment. And that's not even time for taking any action or hearing staff comments or, you know what I mean, the actual presentations. So, I mean, there has to be some sort of way to balance the amount of things that they're supposed to be working on versus, public, making sure the public has time to speak. And there's not a clear, bright line of the best way to do that. But definitely what you're describing is, I would say, you know it when you hear it kind of thing. And that was wrong. And they shouldn't do that, obviously. But at any rate, yeah. So, but as far as how do you approach it going forward long term, like how do you fix that? I don't know. I mean, you have so many issues going on in your community that I think as one person, you got to pick the one or two that are most important to you and see them through start to finish so that you don't burn yourself out. It's not that the other ones are not important. It's not that they shouldn't be changed. It's not that you couldn't be the one to do it, but you can't do it all at the same time because, I feel burnout. You must feel burnout, or if you don't, you will soon. So it's just kind of a self-preservation. Whatever the issues are, pick the one or two, maybe three most important issues to you and hone in on those. So if this is one of those particular issues, then see it all the way through. If maybe it's filing some sort of complaint with a governmental agency, like a state agency, maybe it's bringing it to the news, the public news, like mainstream media. Maybe it's doing a social media campaign about it. Maybe it's just informing your neighbors and people in the community enough until they stand up and speak and demand change. Maybe, there's so many different ways that you could maybe get things addressed depending on what the exact problem is. So anyway, I hope that gives you food for thought.
Yes, very much. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it, because I've been thinking about it a lot, and I don't know whether to keep going or quit. That's the question I have. I've been doing this for 5 years, going to council meetings and that, and I've got some good stuff done in this community, and I'm going up against them, like they are so adamant to just try to stop me from doing stuff, and I'm not the kind of person to be pushed, and I won't be stopped. So I'm real stubborn about that.
And that's a good thing.
You can't back me into a wall, because it won't work.
That is a good thing to hear. And that's the thing. I don't want someone with your spirit and your love for freedom and the Constitution and helping others to be fizzled out because you're just burnt out from all of it. So just be careful that you're picking whichever battles are most important to you, and then maybe tabling, maybe not forever setting aside, but just tabling. You're just going to handle the ones with the highest priority now, and then if you have bandwidth after that, then you'll tackle those. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself in the process.
Okay, I am. Thank you.
Yes, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right, guys. So I'm going to try to get back. I'm not sure if you are still on here, Targeted Patton, if you are still on here, but I want to see if I can address. I didn't even fully read what your question was at 12:10. But let me, hold on. I'm going to, do I have a different one? I don't really want to say call in now. Whatever. We're going to say call in now. All right. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to leave the screen up because I don't want anybody to call in just yet. I want to try to answer some of the questions that were posed in the chat. So, question, what can I do if an employee from Dollar General trespassed me for recording, but they also posted images of me online from their self-checkout camera, then zoomed in on my bank card when I was paying? Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, that is... okay, that's how I feel about that. There's a lot of different things going on. I'm going to try to unpack that. I don't know, maybe I know this, but I don't know what jurisdiction you're calling from. Regardless of the jurisdiction, I don't know what laws would specifically be in place for sharing protected financial information from someone, and certainly sharing someone's bank card information. I would think would fall under some sort of protected information that you cannot just share, publicly. So because there is that, although you're using it in public, there is that expectation of privacy that it's, you're not holding your bank card out for the world to see. You're not, you know what I mean? It's not the same just because you use it in public that should be in the public domain. So with that being said, depending on your jurisdiction, there are probably pretty significant laws that prohibit them from doing that. It's probably a crime. So you need to report it right away. Regardless of whether they trespassed you, that has nothing to do with them somehow then getting the authority to share your personal banking information. Nope, not at all. As far as, it seems like that's the bigger issue, and you're not really asking about the trespassing part of it. I can't really know for sure if there's something to the trespassing side of it. If, I don't know what's there. Was there a legitimate reason? Again, I don't know the state that you're in. So in general, like if it's Michigan, let's see, it's been so long. I think it's statute 750.552, I think, is the general trespassing statute. And in general, if you're not doing anything wrong, that's just a general trespassing statute. So if you're not doing something to get in the way of the store in the employees to do their job duty, causing a scene in the doorway, blocking customers from coming in or out, something like that, then I don't think that there's a legitimate reason to trespass you. If you are, if you're stealing from the location or, something like it, there has to be some other kind of, there has to be a reason basically to trespass you if it's a place that's open to the general public. So anyway, that's just stuff to consider. But it doesn't sound like that's the main thrust of your question. It's the posting images on you and then zooming in on your bank card information. The posting images of you, I would also bring, I don't know, like some sort of harassment claim, or, I don't know if there's something civil there or just something criminal, maybe a little bit of both that you could try to pursue, because them doing that based on the information you have given, just them posting images of you online is not, I don't think that violates any kind of rule or law or anything like that, because you don't have that expectation of privacy, but it's within the context. So that's where I'm like, anyway. So hopefully I gave you enough to go on, because that was a very large, mind-boggling situation. So, all right. And okay. I don't know what this is about, but Dr. Sean Berry, you asked something a long time ago. You just said mailbox rule, question mark, exclamation point, etc. And I'm assuming that was when I was talking about the update for the United States Supreme Court case. The mailbox rule is not always a thing, but it's where they look at when you sent the documents, like when it was postmarked, essentially. And it's in the United States Supreme Court, as long as the fact that I addressed it and it was stamped and it was whatever, had all the USPS labels, September 30th, if it gets there and they could see that I sent it on September 30th, then as long as September 30th was early enough, then they'll consider it timely filed. The problem I was having is that it was deemed lost and destroyed at a certain point in there. So that was kind of a problem. And the fact that on its way back to me, that it actually was destroyed. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. Don't always assume that whatever jurisdiction you're dealing with, that you could just go with, well, I mailed it on that date, because sometimes that's not good enough. And if it's destroyed in the mail, how can you prove that that's what you have? So, with the USPS, if you have the receipt, it'll say the weight of your item typically, and the zip code, but it doesn't have the full thing. I actually paid for the additional service of a certificate of mailing, which they were going to deny me at first because they thought they couldn't do it on packages. They thought it was only for letters. And I was like, nope. I pulled it up. Your website says I can get it on a package, and I'm going to do this to CYA, because in case it gets lost, I want it clear that this is the box that I was mailing to the United States Supreme Court. So anyway, I hope that answered your question about mailbox rule. So, okay. And then I just happened to see, again, I'm only happening to see these. If I happen to see a question and it looks like it's for me, I'll address it. But keep in mind, if it's a question for me, put the word question in all capital letters and then type out your question in normal, you know, upper and lowercase. I can't, normal capitalization from that point on. But you said, why can't we e-file at the 11th? And if you're talking about the 11th, wow, I'm losing all like ability to functioning thought. If you're in Florida, like I am, and we're in the 11th Circuit, anyway, Court of Appeals, if that's what you're talking about, there is e-filing in the federal district courts, as well as there's e-filing in all federal courts. But the U.S. Supreme Court is the only court that I'm aware of that requires the paper copy. That's the original filing, and they will not accept your e-filing until they receive that paper copy. So anyway, it's old school. It's outdated. I'm not sure why they do that, but anyway. Oh, I just scrolled a whole bunch, guys. Okay. Give me a second here to try to go back. And okay, I answered that. Just looking here. And this is where the word, oh, you asked again. Okay, so I did answer that one. My husband knows me well. And I'm just reading his comment from 1232. He said, oh boy, exclamation point. He told her to calm down. Oh. And then Lori said, I was thinking the same. Yeah. It's not going to make me calm down if you tell me to calm down, but quite frankly, is that going to work for you? I mean, if anything, you could tell the group of people, hey, let's all calm down. Let's all just try to, you know, let's both calm down, whatever. I see tensions are rising. Let's try to, you know, revert from that. Anyway, yes, thank you. This is a public service. He said he's being the caller, the first caller. He's being critical, but they're still talking. This is gaslighting. That's what I was thinking. Anyway, okay. Mike says, I hope it was me. That was when I said I didn't know who blocked him. And Mike said, I hope it was me. Anyway, that's too funny. Okay. So I'm just looking for the questions. I'm not trying to read all of your guys' stuff, but question, why is he still here disrupting? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. The Bill of Rights was to keep the government in check, not to check Catherine. Sorry. I love you guys. You guys are making my day. Okay. I'm just looking to see. If you guys have any, I wish I could have blocked him. This is a public service. You are. You could have blocked him because you have the little wrench thing. Doesn't that mean that you're one of the people that has access to my channel that way? Okay. Anyway, Epic Proportions Media Productions. That was the one, in case you guys didn't say you got that. So, okay. So I am just looking. If I scrolled over your question, it's because I'm not seeing the word question in front of it. But Yeah, I get defensive. When people say I don't care about freedom and don't know anything about freedom, I'm going to get defensive. Because I do. I was actually violently arrested while I was supporting the cause of the actual very cause of free speech and other First Amendment protected activities. So, if I'm willing to be violently arrested for the First Amendment freedoms, then, yeah, I'm going to get defensive when someone says I don't know anything about them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Didn't let him speak. Yeah. I don't think that's the case because the dude said exactly what he was saying. He just kept repeating himself. So, and at some point, if he's asking a question, I'm going to try to answer it. Especially where I felt bad that I couldn't answer the first question, but then he had another question that I could answer. So I wanted to address that. Anyway, I'm not catching. Doesn't look like you have any questions. So I'm just checking. If I have skipped your question, and you, especially if you did put the word question in front of it, I apologize. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay. Yeah. All right. You guys are cracking me up, but I'm trying to find if there's questions, and there's so much in the chat. Okay, there's a question. Oh, you asked the same thing again. Dang it. Okay, here's another question. And that worked. However you did that. 6 Oaks Farm. Sorry it's so long for me to get to this question, but you put my name in orange. I am not sure how you did that. I don't know how to do that, but that helps me see. And then you put question in all caps. What argument did you make regarding the public interest for your writ? I know that's one of the highest burden and hurdle, apparently is burtle, highest hurdles to overcome. So I don't want to bore you guys with all that because I did go into a lot of detail when this is a public service asked me that exact same question last show. But I do have the documents now that they are filed in the Supreme Court. I do have them all on my website. So if you go to that restorefreedomkh.com/OB case, I have them magistrate tribunal stuff first, then circuit court, then 5th District Court of Appeal, and then the United States Supreme Court. I just finished putting all that on Friday. So once I learned it was docketed, I got all the documents on there. And I was assuming that because I e-filed, they would have some sort of e-filing acceptance stamp, but they did not, which I should have realized because all the other ones I've seen before, they don't do that. And they consider the paper filing the original copy, but that's why I was waiting and not putting them on the website to begin with. But anyway, they are all there now. Or you could go to the Supreme Court's website and look up the case there directly. There's that one motion that's missing, the motion for redaction. I did not see anyway, listed on the front end, the public end of the Supreme Court's website, but in the back end where I could see the documents that I have filed, it says that it's there. And it says my case is, I don't remember, filed or completed or something of that nature, like to show, yep, your documents were accepted is basically what it says. So that is one of the questions I have outstanding with the United States Supreme Court Clerk's Office. But anyway, all the rest of them are there, and they're on my website. So anyway, I would say, give it a look. It's double spaced, and it's it's, I don't think it takes that long to read because my husband hates reading legal documents, and he said it actually didn't take him very long to read it all, and it flowed. So anyway, and I'd love to hear your feedback and your thoughts on the public interest that I shared. Now, because I proposed 4 different questions, I addressed that that element, the public interest, within each of those 4. So I explained it a little bit differently depending on what the question is being asked. So, Okay. So, all right. Yes. I'm just looking here. Okay. No, I didn't think you were joking, Targeted Patent. I did not think you were joking. That is just, it's awful. It's mind blowing. And because it's so absurd, I knew it had to be true, unfortunately. Okay. And okay, Dr. Sean Berry says, do I waste my time and money with a writ of certiorari or use those resources filing a 42 USC section 1983 for a trespass from a Pasco County tax collector? And I would say it depends, because they are weaponizing the use of criminal trespass. So it depends on the circumstances of that criminal trespass and what's the status right now. Do you have an outcome in the do you have an outcome of that case? If you do, are you still within the time limits to be able to go up the chain? Because you're going to have at least one right to appeal within your state, assuming it's a state court issue. You'd have because a county tax collector, that's going to be a state court issue. So you would have one right of appeal. I don't know if there's any jurisdictions that allow you a secondary right to appeal, or if it's just on like a petition for writ of certiorari or a leave to file an appeal. Michigan does it on a leave to file an appeal, it's really analogous to a petition for writ of certiorari, where you're basically asking the court permission to file the next round of appeals. So anyway, it depends. There's a lot of factors that go in there. I would strongly suggest that anytime you have something stemming from a court case that already exists, you have to see it through. Because one of the strongest arguments you're going to have against you, whether you try to bring a 42 USC section 1983 claim or any kind of other claim against the other party, is that the case is essentially, there's res judicata. The case has been decided. The issues have been decided. Because if there's anything within that same transaction or occurrence that you need addressed in the court, then you need to do that as a counter complaint or in your answer or whatever. You need to have it all within that same trial court experience, and have those issues appropriately raised at the trial court level. Keep raising them at each successive appellate level, because if you just try to essentially sit on your rights at the, through the criminal proceedings, and then you want to try to just bring civil proceedings against them later, oftentimes the courts are going to say, no, it's not that important to you because you have the opportunity to fight these issues and you chose not to fight them. So doing a 42 USC section 1983, that would be a way to receive compensation. You can't get compensation out of, say, a criminal case. If you have a criminal trespass case and then you win on appeal, you're not going to get, compensation from the people that have done you wrong. That you could then jump over. Once you win the criminal side of it, you can jump over and do a civil case against them to receive compensation or get whatever out of it that you want. But you can't abandon the original court case. I hope I'm making sense, because there's like two tracks. There's the original, and then there's your separate civil case that you want to file. And you have to keep that original case on track and see it all the way through and not give up on it. Raise all those issues. And then, if you've done all the right steps and done all, followed the proper procedures and all that stuff there and continued to raise the issues, and you presented all the facts and evidence that you needed to at the trial court level and whatnot, then, you'd have the chance of then bringing a civil claim later if you still need to address it that way. But don't give up on your claim in the initial criminal side of things. Yes, okay, so okay, refusing, okay, so Targeted Patent is following up on that question about Dollar General and what they did, and they trespassed. So, so you say, I know they can refuse service to anyone they want, but I'm looking into discrimination, and they certainly cannot discriminate. But also, there's a difference between refusing service and doing a trespass. So, for example, let's say I'm with Lori. Lori and I are, let me pick something that might be a little bit more realistic. Okay, so I'm with Foshin, okay, a known troublemaker. And let's say he has a history of having done whatever videos or something, whatever, and they want to refuse him service. But I go into a Dollar General with him and I'm purchasing things and he's just hanging out with me. He's just there going through the aisles with me, and we go to checkout and I finish my purchase. I complete everything, I pay for it, whatever. They can't, if they want to refuse him service, they can refuse him service. But depending on what the reason for refusing him service, they can't necessarily just trespass him and tell him he can't physically be there, because he's not actually trying to get service. He's not trying to buy anything. He's just accompanying me when I'm buying something, if that makes sense. So anyway, but certainly if there's discrimination, then that's a totally different issue altogether. Okay. So trespassing for filming operations in a public lobby. Gee, I've heard of that before. Yes, that is something that I have worked with closely before in a federal context. And quite frankly, my own arrest. And that's where I think Lori also already gave you some links to my Allegan case. But if you go to the website, I don't have a cute little shortened URL for that one, I don't think. But anyway, all my Allegan County case documents, I was arrested for being on public property in a place open to the general public. And I was actually there as an attorney, but I was there as an attorney representing people that were exercising their First Amendment rights to petition their government for a redress of grievances. And so anyway, a First Amendment issue in a public space. And anyway, even if they and they didn't have an ordinance, but even if they do, they can't make an ordinance. That's about that. But anyway, so similar things. You could grab the documents that I submitted in my case, the Allegan County case, and use some of those legal or constitutional arguments. Obviously, it's a different jurisdiction, so you'd want to grab maybe the main legal basis, but then try to find statutes for your own state that match the statutes that I was referencing. But the constitutional arguments should largely be the same, because I reference both the Michigan and U.S. constitutions, and your state likely has similar, if not exactly the same, language to the Michigan State Constitution on those First Amendment issues. Okay. And it jumped. Oh, wait, did it? Okay. Okay. So, okay. And then Lori's on top of it. So she already had the link for the Allegan case in there. And, okay, what argument did you make? Oh, you already asked. I already addressed that? Oh, I already addressed that. My bad. Okay. Apparently it scrolled. What in the world? It jumped. Okay. It went from things that we're commenting on at 104 to 124, and yet I see there's a whole bunch of stuff in between, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Anyway, let me just see if you guys had any more questions. Okay, liberty absurdity. Who in the legislature is responsible for the legitimacy of new laws passed? Depends on what you mean by that, because if you're just asking if who's responsible to make sure that they are constitutional in nature, every single person, it's my position that every single person employed by the government in any capacity is responsible for ensuring the Constitution is followed. So if they are a legislative member themselves, they are a state rep or a state senator, they are responsible for making sure that if there's a law that's unconstitutional, they are speaking out on that and prohibiting it or trying to amend it so it is constitutional. If they are a staffer, obviously someone with a lot less authority and power, but still, they have that duty, same to the Constitution as anybody else working for the government. Certainly in Michigan, there is a state constitutional provision, but also a state statute talking about if you're even just a part-time volunteer, you have a duty to uphold the United States and Michigan constitutions. But anyway, so certainly somebody who, if you're the Secretary of State or, some sort of register of bills or whatever your jurisdiction might call the person who officially receives the new legislation and has to put the official stamp on it. If you see something is blatantly unconstitutional, you have a duty to do something about that. If you, and depending on what your job role is, your task of what it is you need to do is different. So it might be bringing it to the Attorney General's office, or it might be bringing it, sending it back to the legislature to say, inside council, you need to look at this, legislative council, whatever they call it in your jurisdiction. At any rate, I would say it is everyone's job, each and every person that works in that capacity, even if, let's say, it's a bill that is affecting hunting or the regulation of, fishing or something like that. If you have something that is unconstitutional that is being passed, and now you work as a DNR officer and you see, oh my gosh, this new law just passed and it's requiring XYZ, and that's totally unconstitutional. It goes against the Second Amendment or the whatever amendment. Maybe the Ninth Amendment of our unenumerated rights. Regardless, you have a duty then to speak up and do something about it. It doesn't matter what your position in government is. If you are in government, you have that duty to uphold and defend the Constitution. So hopefully that answers you. Okay. When you use the @ symbol, then the username, it highlights for the user. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I'm not seeing. Okay, not seeing any more. Wait, did it just jump? Okay. Question. Why don't you have memberships set up yet? You don't necessarily need content for members only, because a lot of your subscribers will become a member just to support you. Here's my answer to that. First of all, I feel like if I'm going to do, okay, first answer, I don't know much about memberships and all of that, all that entails. So it would take a lot for me to really, it's just all that social media stuff, all of this. It's not my strong suit. I'm an attorney and I'm a damn good attorney, but I'm figuring out all this stuff by myself. Just to get all the documents on my website, I had to do all the JavaScript and the HTML and all the nonsense. I was putting code into Google and asking it to help me. And then when that didn't work, I was looking at the parts of the code that were fine and then fixing it, because I would put in one thing and then all of a sudden it looked all stupid and nothing was working right on that page. And I had to figure that all out by myself. So it's just not my forte. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, in general, if you have the memberships, in general, the general rule is that you're offering something to your members that you're not providing to the general public. And at this point, I don't feel like I have the ability to offer additional content. I realize you're saying that you don't have to do that, but I feel like it would be cheating people who are members expecting additional content. But if people want to regularly support me, I greatly would appreciate that. And I need that. We don't have enough funds coming in to cover the minimal costs of this operation. And so I need that support. But I do have PayPal. I have Cash App. I have Venmo. People send checks or, postal money orders or whatever. That's all an option, and it's right on the website. There's a way that you can donate, and it lists all the different ways that you can donate. So YouTube takes a huge cut of what I get. So if somebody gives me the super chats or stuff like that, they wait for 6 months to a year before they even give me anything. And then I'm given a check for that huge amount of time, and it might be $80. So they take a huge cut of things. So it's, Venmo and Cash App, there's nothing that comes out of that. And if you put in there that it's for the Restore Freedom work, then I make sure that's directed towards that. There's obviously been times people are donating to my cancer expenses and things like that. Then that goes, I make sure that if you indicate where you want it to go, it goes in the right place. So that's what I would ask, that you guys use, PayPal if you're not comfortable with the other ones, but PayPal does take a cut. So Venmo and Cash App do not. So that's why. And what is the liability when they breach their duty? What action is available? Okay, this was follow up to when legislators are enacting unconstitutional statutes, and so they're breaching that duty to the Constitution. What action is available? It depends on who the person is that's breaching the duty and what specifically that duty is. And what jurisdiction that you're in. Sometimes as a private citizen, there's not a whole lot that you can do. You can, maybe make a complaint or try to file a complaint with the state police or the Attorney General's office or, the Department of Civil Rights or whatever, depending on the jurisdiction. Sometimes you're allowed to file, an action of some kind yourself. So it's just such a broad problem and a broad question that I don't have a very specific answer for you. But I wish I had a specific answer to that because it's a very good question. Targeted patent, you said, it's exhausting, isn't it? And I don't even know what you're talking about at this point. So I'm exhausted all the time from everything. So I give 100% to everything I have. I don't know how to do anything half-assed. So yes, that's why I get exhausted. But all right, so Angry Vet, I really appreciate it, but I am too overwhelmed to look into all that membership stuff and set it up. And Lori has not been available to take on some of the extra, the extras like that. And Mike certainly doesn't have the time. There are plenty of ways that people can donate. And I 100% appreciate the effort that you're trying to do. But for the reasons we just talked about, I just don't have it in me. I don't have the bandwidth in me to get something else set up right now. Not trying to be the stick in the mud, but the car magnets are great. Thank you, Jay Curvitt, for saying that. If you guys want to help spread the word in your local communities or wherever it is that you travel, we do have 2 different sizes of car magnets as well as 2 different sizes of window decals. And I believe every single one of them has the QR code so people can just scan it. And then they can go, well, what's this Restore Freedom? It says more freedom, less government. What's that about? That sounds great. And they could scan it and it takes them to a truncated version of our website. And then they could start clicking the links from there and learn more. So that would be a great way for you to help support. And it's just at cost. If you're down here by any stretch of the imagination, if you're in the Ormond Beach area and you want some of these things, it'll cost a lot less than what I have online, because what I have online, I have to add the cost of the packaging. What is my opinion on 501c3 churches? I'll tell you what, that's a very kind of a loaded question, and I'm not sure there's a question buried within that question. And before we start to unpack all that, I do want to say it's 1:35 and I do need to feed my child lunch. Um, but we also, as far as that kind of a question, I don't, it's been a long time since I've looked up all the differences between 501c3, 501c4, different things. First of all, I think the fact that there's a 501 anything means that there are far too many tax codes on the books. And I don't think there should be all that. So that's my number one answer. I don't think that there should be that much complication in things. And you guys might not be able to see it from here, but I have the 2007 version of the Internal Revenue Code up there. And it's on that thin, I don't know what you call it. Is it called onion skin paper? But that a lot of Bibles are made out of. It's that thin stuff, and it is tiny print, and it barely fits in a book that they could contain like all together in one volume. It's ridiculous. And that was almost 20 years ago. So anyway, it's too complicated. That's my answer. But if there's a question beneath the question, I would be more than happy to try to look at it. Wow, it's scrolled a whole bunch. Okay, hold on. I see several questions. Where was the last question? Okay, so that was that. All right, so I see at least two questions. Okay, so this is a public service asks, they're talking about eliminating property taxes here in Florida. How do you feel about taxing PACs to cover the inevitable shortfall of this action? First of all, I'm going to say a very unpopular opinion, probably, but I would think that this audience would agree with me. I don't think there's an inevitable shortfall. I think they just need to have more freedom, less government, with less regulations, with less public employees, with less things that they're trying to do to us and ways they're trying to control us and micromanage every aspect of our lives. It would cost less. There would be far less administrative costs, and they wouldn't have all of that expense. So I think that they could definitely be cutting the kinds of, and I'll say I like public parks and I like, different free opportunities for citizens to come out and do XYZ, but that's not the proper role of government. Public parks, yes, the actual infrastructure would be a governmental thing that makes it open to the public. That I get. But for the government to be paying with our tax dollars for all kinds of services and offerings, I don't think so. If the government wants to be the coordinator for volunteer organizations that want to offer, a movie in the park, or they want to offer trick-or-treating, like a trunk or treat event in a public park or something like that, I'm all for that. But, essentially leasing out those public facilities for events that are open to the public being put on by private organizations or whatever, that's cool. But the government should not be doing it. So there's a lot of waste, and there's just so many things that we have gotten accustomed to the fact that, oh, well, governments do this, they do this, it's the right thing. Oh yeah, because they do it and we're used to it, then we should keep doing it. Absolutely not. I don't think there would be an inevitable shortfall. Second of all, taxing PACs, political action committees, I'm assuming is what you're asking. And I don't know. I mean, anytime you specifically tax one type of entity or person, then you're going to potentially run into equal protection issues. So I guess I'd be open to hearing more about that and in what contexts, but not necessarily, I think there's some concerns either way. I think the biggest thing they need to do is just cut the wasteful spending. But yes, we better have that on the ballot because, oh, geez. Oh, and then there was a question. Shoot, where was it? The legislature has a duty. Breaches with an unconstitutional law passed. What are the damages? Repeal the law by sending a letter, i.e. the governor passes the law. I think I answered this for you because it depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on the actual person that you're talking about, trying to hold accountable, and in which way you're trying to hold them accountable. What are the damages? Again, it depends on the scenario. So when you say damages, I would say the real damages, if there's an unconstitutional law passed, are to all of us as citizens here in the United States. Anytime an unconstitutional law is passed, those citizens are damaged in some way. They're harmed in some way. The fact that they would have to do anything, jump through any hoops to get it set aside, or if they might have their life, liberty, or property taken from them in any kind of way, or threatened to be taken from them in any kind of way with more regulation or whatever the case is. I think there's always damages there. But if you're talking about in terms of an actual specific lawsuit, then you have to allege, specific damages depending on the kind of lawsuit that you're filing. So there's just too much. I don't have easy answers for you on there because it's depending on the kind of thing we're talking about. There's like infinite numbers of answers that I might have to, fill in that blank with. I hope that makes sense. The more pinpointed the question is, the easier it is that I'm able to answer it. So, okay. All right. Okay. Angry Vet, it was nice to have you join us. Have a wonderful afternoon. And it jumped again. Sorry, guys. I am What? This is a public service. You dismantled a prosecutor's case? And you raised questions about the chief of police in a hearing? What? And you didn't tell me? Dude, you know my phone number. That's when you call. Catherine, I have something that you're going to be interested in. You want to go? And I'm going to say, yeah, I want to go. I'll be there. I'll meet you. Yeah. Dude, that sounds awesome. I don't even know what he's talking about, but it sounds awesome and I wish I was there. Okay. Anyway, I will say this is probably going to be hit a nerve with some of you. I do think that there is a need for taxes. That's how you get infrastructure. And I think as a country, we need strong infrastructure. We need communications infrastructure. We need water, sewer, roads. I think there's a function for the FAA, those kinds of things, right? Trains, whatever, boats, all that kind of stuff. I think there is a specific need for that kind of thing, and you have to provide a way to pay for it. Shoot, if we get enough, tariff revenues coming in from outside countries, then maybe that eventually could be a way to fund everything. But at any rate, I think there is a time and a place and a purpose for taxes, but it's for the very limited specific constitutional functions that a government is supposed to be providing. Okay. This thing. Just somebody's calling from Michigan, but it's a suspected spam caller, it says. Okay. So you lost what? What did you lose? Oh, I gotta know. You have another case? Okay. I need to know about this. Foshin, you better be giving me a call. Asking. Yes, asking is better than just assuming my plate is too full. My plate is always full and it always will be full. It always has been full. But it was full when I helped on your last case. But anyway. All right. So I think I got all the questions. I think I got all the questions. And hence the reason why I kept on the callers on live now instead of putting the phone number back on the screen, because I didn't want anybody else to call in while I was trying to make sure and I went through all the questions. If you asked a question and I missed it, I do apologize, but I do believe I finally got through all of them. So with that being said, gosh, I guess we've talked about several different topics today, but next, oh, you know what? We should probably address the when the next one would be. Okay, so Tuesday, November 25th. I cannot believe it's the end of the year already. Tuesday, November 25th would be our next show, and that is the week of Thanksgiving, but I don't see any reason why we can't do a show then. So I do hope you join us at noon Eastern Standard Time that day, and you can, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in all of the links on there for you. I hope you do call in with any constitutional and legal questions. And even if you're someone, let's say, I'm going to say this to friends and family who call or text with legal questions, do me a favor. If you're going to ask me for that free legal advice, save it for the show and call in or write it in, in the YouTube live chat. So others might be able to benefit from the same kind of question that you have. I have a friend who sent me a text 20 minutes before I came on live, and she's asking about how to do some sort of affidavit. And I didn't have time to finish the follow-up discussion, but I thought, man, she really just needs to call in. And I know I've told her about the show, but, I know it's not on her radar right now. But anyway, yes, and Six Oaks Farm, I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on my writ, my petition for writ of certiorari, that is. So, yes, let me know your thoughts. And if you guys are able to help support in any way, whether it's a one-time $5 donation or 10, 20, 50, 100, 500, anything is helpful. Anything is really helpful. If you're able to do a recurring donation, you can actually set that up through our PayPal. If you want it to come on our end. Otherwise, Cash App and Venmo, check, all of that it's all available for you to donate. And I really, truly appreciate the financial support so I can keep this work going. And quite frankly, let me put it this way. If we go back to a time or get to a time where I have funds coming in on a regular basis, that it not only pays for the out-of-pocket costs, because I don't even have enough funds that cover that, but if I get enough donations that I could actually start building on things and, pay people to help me. I mean, someday, can you imagine this? If someday I had a donation-based law firm that I had paid secretaries and paralegals and attorneys, and we were actually out there, how big that net could be, how wide of a net we could cast to be able to help people all over and affect real change and just really be able to impact things in a constitutional sense. I would love that. And my dream someday, if you are a millionaire and you are listening to this now, my dream someday, before I'm too old to see and hear much of anything or communicate, is to open a freedom fighting law school, like a truly constitutionally based law school down here in Florida. That's what I want to do. I want to educate our next generation of attorneys. I want to educate generations of attorneys on the true ins and outs of the Constitution and what's important, what's allowed and what's not allowed by government officials, regardless of just the way that it's been done. Because I'm sick and tired of the bullshit ways that it has been done. And I want to see the Constitution followed for once. And I want to see it continue to be followed. So if it takes, and you know what? I would love if somebody is, a millionaire, if any of you win the lottery and you want me to be able to impact things on a nationwide basis, I also want to start schools for educating law enforcement officers, for sending people to, I want to focus on having a liberal arts college that focuses on degrees like criminal justice and public administration and things where they're, going to be serving in local government or, in law enforcement or things like that. I want it to be constitutionally based. That's what I would love to do. So anyway, if you are rich and you love the Constitution, please connect with me so we can make these things a reality, because I don't say things that I don't mean unless I'm joking. And I'm not joking. I am definitely wanting to do these things. I just have no money. So I'm not going to do them on my own unless someone comes through with the way to pay for it. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate all the support, and would love to see you guys on our next live call-in show. Check out those documents we referenced earlier. The screen up has the links right now, but like I said, the most recent case that has the United States Supreme Court stuff, that's restorefreedomkh.com/OB case. And of course, the donate page, restorefreedomkh.com/donate. Those would be the two most important ones to check in recent days. So we look forward to seeing you next 2 Tuesdays from today. And with that, I hope you all stay warm, stay bundled. If you're in Florida, be wary of those iguanas that'll be falling from the trees. Have a great day, everyone.
Our work to restore freedom would not be possible without support from people just like you. From the various software and hardware needed to the legal research materials, every dollar you can donate helps. Make sure to like and share this video too. And remember to follow and subscribe and click that notification button. Together, we can restore